Finished with another day of 49ers practice, and I should probably lead with this. I was out there on the field and Talanoa Hufanga was off on the side doing sprints, obviously not participating in practice. He's got the Baker's cyst in his knee, but he's doing sprints, didn't even have a brace on his knee. He underwent the PRP, the platelet-rich plasma treatment, just a few days ago, and it does look like Talanoa Hufanga is going to be in a good position to return for the 49ers at some point soon. Based on what I saw today and based on what Kyle Shanahan has recently said, I know that there had been some alarm sounded online about the fact that the Baker cyst can be connected to meniscus damage, but Talanoa was moving around well in the side work that he was doing on the field today. Also on the side, George Kittle, who's working through that adductor injury. Oren Burks, who's expected to be back week 1. He's coming back from that knee injury. Jordan Mason, foot sprain, but he was also doing some sprints on the side. So the 49ers, seems like there are a lot of minor injuries. It seems that they are healing up, and that's exactly where you want to be about 10 days away from the season opener. Quarterbacks today did some short game work for the 49ers. That was Brock Purdy, that was Sam Darnold, that was Brandon Allen. They're working on those quick little screen passes. You take the snap and you flip it out. You kind of short arm it because you have to get it out to Deebo Samuel or whoever the yak bro is over on the side really quickly. So that was the point of emphasis. The defense, according to Steve Wilks, is really emphasizing zone read defensive work this week because Kyle Shanahan, in case you didn't catch it, didn't seem to be too happy with the 49ers run defense, even though it's just been the preseason. After the 3 games that we saw in August, the 49ers actually gave up over 550 rushing yards in the preseason, which was the most in the NFL. Now, remember, this was the #1 run defense in the NFL last year that got gashed in the preseason. Now, Kyle Shanahan said what I've been saying on the channel here. You don't worry too much about it because your main guys generally aren't playing in the preseason. But Shanahan did say you can't completely ignore it. And I think that the reason why Shanahan doesn't want to completely ignore it is because the 49ers have a new defensive coordinator in Steve Wilks. And Wilks is going to be bringing new coverages, exotic looks to the back end, obviously a new blitzing focus to the 49ers defense, but he's a DB background kind of guy. And the 49ers have been rooted in the front 7. There's a reason why Shanahan challenged Wilks when he hired him to immerse himself in the 49ers system, because he wants to take Wilks' expertise and mix it with what the 49ers do so well. So Shanahan being concerned about the 49ers run defense, to me, is, I don't want to say a message to Steve Wilks, but it's a message to the entire team under this new defensive leadership to make sure that this run defense is schematically shored up. And, when you look at Joshua Kelly, who was the Chargers running back who ripped off the 75-yard run against the 49ers in the final preseason game, that was because Jalen Graham, one of the really impressive rookie linebackers, was out of position, right, in his gap, and then Taylor Hawkins, the safety, took a bad angle that didn't prevent that from being a big play, a gashing touchdown play. Steve Wilks today, when I asked him about it, said, those things are correctable. Young players making gap control mistakes are correctable. But what Steve Wilks said that schematically he definitely can change was the focus on the zone reads. I mean, Max Duggan, the rookie quarterback for the Chargers, he picked up over 50 yards on zone reads. And Steve Wilks told me he thinks that opposing offenses are going to see that weakness and they're going to try to test the 49ers with that weakness against zone reads that they showed in week 3 of the preseason schematically. And that's going to start with Kenny Pickett, Najee Harris, and the Steelers on September 10th. Pickett's got some athleticism. So Steve Wilks really said that the 49ers are emphasizing that zone read defense at practice this week as a result. And, it's not, I don't think that it was a big omission that they didn't emphasize it heading up into the Chargers game. Again, it was the preseason. So you're going to be working on specific things, not an actual full game plan. The full game plan emphasis for the 49ers, that's happening now. They're starting to install the Pittsburgh stuff now. Maybe not specifically, that's really going to happen next week. But in general, if you're struggling with zone reads and the Steelers are going to try to expose that, well, you better start working on the zone reads, and that's what the 49ers are doing now. So I wrote about this on The Athletic. The piece is going to be up soon. I'm going to toss it into the comments section, pin it up there at the top, and put it in the description. When you get a chance, do check it out. It's only $1 a month. I think this was a interesting line of dialogue from Kyle Shanahan, and then I followed up with Steve Wilks on it today, because that's what the 49ers worked on in practice. So the next few days, the 49ers get to take Labor Day weekend off. I think that's part of the new CBA. You have to take a 3-day stretch off. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to be on Nick Bosa watch anyway. He doesn't have to take a day off from signing a contract. Do check out the article I have linked in the description about Nick Bosa and how much the 49ers need him. I cannot hammer this home enough. The 49ers, for their 2023 cap purposes, could really use a Nick Bosa signing sooner rather than later, so they can just have that final puzzle piece in the equation, because Nick Bosa will save money in all likelihood against the 2023 cap, because all the cap hits will be spread out in the future years. Doesn't mean that the 49ers shouldn't be playing hardball with him right now for their long-term sustainability purposes. You got to keep those costs down in 2024 and beyond. But as far as the short term goes, the 49ers are in win now mode as a football team, right? They're in win now mode, talking about their quarterback, talking about everything else. Well, they need to be in win now mode as far as their contractual situation goes with Nick Bosa, their salary cap situation, and they need to make sure they have the spending money in this 2023 season to be able to go out and make a trade. Remember Jed York at the owners' meetings? He said, we're in position to go out and make a trade if a player like Christian McCaffrey becomes available to us. As far as draft capital, the 49ers are certainly in that kind of position, because they have all those picks. I mean, they've replenished the cupboard here in 2024, added another one with the trade of Trey Lance. But you also have to be able to absorb any contract that you might acquire via a trade. And that only can happen if you free up enough cap space in the short run. And the 49ers plan all along, they've budgeted for this, has revolved around Nick Bosa signing this contract to lower his cap hit from $17.9 million to about $10 million this season. I even asked John Lynch about it. I know I've already talked about that, but it's definitely something to watch over this weekend. Other news today, Eric Armstead spoke to the media. Darryl Tapp, the 49ers assistant defensive line coach, has a nickname, a flattering nickname for Eric Armstead. He calls him the Blueprint, because he's the blueprint of how everything's supposed to be done. He's the blueprint for that defense. So you can call Eric Armstead the blueprint. Without him, and you've seen it ever since Armstead moved inside a defensive tackle, week 8 of 2021, the 49ers run defense has been the best in the league. Armstead is the reason for this run defense being the best in the league, which is why you shouldn't freak out if they're, at the bottom of the pack in the preseason, because Armstead isn't playing the vast majority of these snaps. But it's still, something to keep an eye out for because of the schematics. But Eric Armstead's going to help when the time comes for week 1. And Elijah Mitchell also spoke. He's feeling great. He's feeling great physically, and he talked a lot about the impact that Christian McCaffrey has had on his ability to catch the football. A lot of seam routes, a lot of, kind of out of the backfield, little wheel into seam for Elijah Mitchell this offseason. He's caught the football well. He's the 49ers number 2 back, and it's going to be exciting to see him operate. All right, that's the 49ers report for today. We will talk to you all soon.